Bonnie?
That's right, Mark. You certainly can afford them. 300 years ago, the average colonial homemaker might have used the same techniques that we're going to learn today to beautify a home. Leslie Harrington is with me to tell us all about stenciling. Thanks for coming in.
You're welcome.
Now, stenciling is kind of a hot thing these days, isn't it?
Really hot. I mean, we love to make things ourselves. We're getting right back into that whole arts and crafts movement.
Right. And this isn't that hard, is it?
It's really easy. And I mean, nowadays, companies have made it even easier because they make all these pre-cut stencils for us, so we don't have to make our own.
Right. So since we were just talking about colonial days, why did they use the stenciling back then, or why did they stop doing it?
Well, one of the reasons they stopped doing it was because it became time-consuming, and technology, a.k.a. wallpaper, allowed us to produce the same kind of look. But years ago, we didn't have wallpaper, so it was one of the few ways that we could add pattern and decorate our walls or things like baskets or furniture without having to spend a lot of time or money.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so this is the old way people used to kind of get that wallpaper look.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Okay, well, show us what we need to get started with this.
The first thing are pre-cut stencils really make a big difference. If you want, you can make your own just by photocopying an existing wallpaper pattern or a dish towel or anything you like around the house, but this really makes it simple. And you can buy these at most art supply stores. Put some low-tack painter's tape on them, and then just basically line it up on the wall. Make sure you get it straight where you would want your border to be. We're going to put ours just above the wainscoting. By the way, our pattern is called
Bonnie Blue Floral.
Right, just for you.
I think I'll like this one.
All right, and then we're going to be using liquid or solid paint. We're not going to use the traditional paint that you would use in the paint store because it takes too long to dry.
Oh.
This is like a crayon, can you see?
Yeah.
And the one thing you have to do is peel the waxy part off the crayon, and then once you have that done, you just kind of draw around the stencil area that you're doing a couple of times, and then you take your stencil brush and you kind of swirl it into the center.
That's it.
That's it. Isn't this simple?
Yeah, see, I have stenciled before, and I've used the paint, and you had to use sponges. And that was really hard because I couldn't get a nice, smooth, sort of even look to it.
Right. Yeah. Well, quite often we would put too much paint on our sponge, so this way it's much easier. Here, you give it a try.
Let me try this.
So just draw around the area.
See, I would want to color this in. That's
exactly. So draw around the whole area. Try not to get it on the wall. Just sort of draw around the opening.
Okay.
That's okay. But mistakes are easy to fix, so don't think you've made a mistake. Okay. And the more you draw on, obviously, the darker your color's going to be. And just make sort of small circular motions, bringing the color into the center.
I like the idea of not having to use the paint. I don't know. It just seems like I don't have to worry as much about dripping or mess or that kind of thing.
Well, the neat thing about the stencil patterns is basically what they do is they determine your color scheme for you, because what they do is, say a color stencil has 4 colors in it, they'll give you 4 different sheets. So each color is its own sheet. So you would take this whole stencil and do the first color, and then you would continue if you wanted to add another color using the second or the third stencil.
Okay, then we get our next one up here.
Okay, so I'm going to grab a next stencil.
That is.
That's easy. So now we just take that off.
Oh, here.
Okay. And we would put this on with, see, pretty good. Look, you're talented, aren't you? We would put this up, and since I don't have my tape head, just hold that for me.
Okay.
Now this is the important part. See the registration marks or those dotted lines? That helps you line this up so you get the next part, the flowers, straight. So again, here's our crayon, wipe it around, and this is a slightly different brush. It's a sponge brush. It's a little less expensive. This will be about $3. Your other brush is about $6, and you just do the same thing. Swirl it in.
And we would want to tape this just so everybody realizes that, so that it doesn't do what it just did to us.
Exactly. Right, and it makes it much easier. And again, just move down and do the other flowers.
Okay.
And continue just a really soft circular motion. The more the more you rub them, the darker you're going to get. And you can just continue with the next one. Now there's 2 types of paint you're going to see. You can get them in little pots like this as well.
Is this the same kind?
It's basically the same kind. The one thing that you have to make sure is that, notice how I'm peeling this gunk off? It looks like gunk. When the paint dries, it hardens and films this film over top of it. Get rid of that so that exposes the paint and makes it liquid so you can rush it on.
Okay.
If this is your pot here, you would just basically put your brush in there like that and stencil it around the same way.
Okay, I'd like to keep doing this.
Okay.
If it's all right, I'm kind of hooked on this.
Okay, well, I've got to get you some leaves now for green.
Okay. Now, if I put this up here, I put it up and I like it for 6 months, and then I say, okay, I want to change my bedroom. How hard is it to paint over this?
This is really easy. Now, you've probably taken wallpaper off before in your life.
Oh, yeah, off the bathroom. Yeah.
Right. Well, this is a lot easier. Just paint right over top of it and away you go. You might want to give it a light sanding, or you want to put some primer on it if the color's really dark, but just basically go right over top of it. And the other nice thing about this is that, you know, even though the Bonnie Blue Floral we're doing here has 4 different patterns in it, if you wanted, you could just do the ribbon design and maybe in a couple of months come back and do the little flowers to go with it. You don't have to complete it all at once. So, for instance, to do that ribbon design around 10 by 12 room, it would probably take you about an hour to do.
That's great. So where would we want to put our stencil in the room? Do we do it on the top? Or now, I don't have one of these.
Right. So if you don't have a wainscoting or a tail rail, you can use the stencil actually as that divider piece. But keep in mind when you do a wainscoting is look at how high your furniture is in the room, because you don't want a lot of things to interfere with it. So if you have tall furniture that comes up to here, you're not going to see it. So you need to put it at the top of the room instead. Okay.
Now, I have stencil, and I'll tell you something that I did wrong. I was doing like a cowboy pattern across the top, and it started going like this down. What are some of the things I can do to make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, you can put a guideline up to help. And you'll notice that on this stencil design, I don't know if you can see it, but see they have these dotted lines that go across like that. If you were to draw a straight line on there with a light pencil mark or a couple of ticks, you could line those up with that straight line so that you keep it going straight.
Okay, because boy, I'll tell you, it did not look so good when it was going down like this, you know.
It's no different than hanging wallpaper, and it goes like that as well.
It's very similar, you're right.
You know, another common mistake is when people get blobs on the wall like that. And an easy way to fix that, other than painting over top of it, is to take some masking tape, and let's hope this works. Take some heavy-duty masking tape, just rub it really hard, and quite often that will pull that back
that's lighter,
off.
so you could probably just do that a couple times.
Or using a pink pearl eraser, so go get the, you know, your kids' pencil bag or something and steal their pencils and erasers.
Well, and I suppose the other thing is that if you've just painted your wall and you have a little extra, can't you just...
You can always touch it up, but this is a lot faster way to do it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. If you were to finish that whole wall,
let's take a look.
Let me show you.
We're going to.
Okay. Let's twist this around.
Reveal the beautiful pattern here.
And what we've done here is we've used the complicated one at the bottom, and then we repeated the simple one at the top. So that you can see that you can do more than just one row. You can actually combine, you know, simple and complicated versions of the same pattern on the same wall. You might want to keep in mind, the more pattern and the more color, the smaller it's going to make your room look.
Oh, okay. Now, you know a lot about color, and you kind of actually forecast what are color trends. So what's in?
Well, I belong to a group called CMG, Color Marketing Group, and we try to look at what you're going to be looking for. The hot new colors are what we call vegetable tones. They're of the earth. They're very earthy. Colors like espresso, look at a coffee bean. That's a great new brown. We're not going to call it chocolate brown now. Eggplant, cornmeal.
That is interesting. These names are, so those are the kind of things that we want that are happening as far as colors.
Right. And color combinations are really important. Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't going to be too happy. Gray is creeping its way out of the marketplace and being replaced with beige. Again, beige is now beautiful. It's not boring anymore. But the trick is beige is going to be our color. So in order for beige to look beautiful, you need to use white with it.
Oh, beige and white. That sounds kind of nice.
It is. It's beautiful.
Good.
Very fresh, very interesting.
All right, so maybe we need to start thinking about doing some painting and some stenciling to update our rooms. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is fun. Quickly, how fast does it, or how long does it take to do a room?
Probably to do our simple pattern an hour. To do our more complicated one, probably about 4 hours.
Okay, well, that's not bad, and obviously it looks beautiful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, and if you want to find out more about stenciling, it'll be in our newsletter. Stay with us. We'll catch up with Mark in the kitchen. He's breaking bread with a friend.